This is working. Do you know the Australian Secrets Intelligence Service? I did some marketing for them once, and the Director General of the Secret Intelligence Service in a meeting leant over and said, "You're the most different person to me I've ever met." And I feel a little bit like that now with some of you. So that's my book. If anybody wants one, just grab one. Is this cool? If nobody grabs one, it's going to be embarrassing. Thank you. Thank you. Great. No, don't hand them around. Let's make the other poor sods come up and get one if I want one as well. All right, I'm going to talk about branding. This is really embarrassing because you guys invented branding. You are the business that knows branding. You're the ones who had the whole thing started. And yet I think this industry and this group of people is possibly the worst at it I've ever come across. And I speak to a lot of industries that don't get what I do, but I think you guys are probably right out there in terms of having a different skill set to mine. Have I lost you yet? You guys know how to make money doing what you do. I know how to make money doing what I do. I'm not here to tell you what I'm saying is right. You guys can do what you do the way you do it. I've got a very different way of going around doing things, and I'm just going to share with you what I know, and hopefully you can take some of that and put it into what you do. My niece, oh my God. My niece she became a Jillaroo in Willaloo. Oh, fuck, whatever. But the point is, when Sophie McIntyre, I just had a mental blank before. Sophie McIntyre, if anyone knows her, when she went there, she fell off the face of the earth. And we were all very, very worried for her welfare because we had no idea what she was doing or where she was going or why she was doing it. It was completely foreign to us. She loved her experience there. She's now gone to be a Jillaroo in South Australia, and that's her chosen career. But for a little family growing up in St Kilda, that was very, very surprising to us and completely foreign. What marketing does is it basically makes things familiar to you. The more familiar you are to something, the more you trust it. The more you trust it, the more value you put into it. The more you support it, the more you like it. Most advertising works by something called the mere exposure effect, which basically says the more you're exposed to something, the more you see it, the more you like it, the more you trust it, the more you value it. I think a massive amount of your issues are that people don't know you, they don't relate to your industry, they can't see your industry. Now, to make that point even more extreme, this is my family, middle of last year in Montana, where I decided it'd be really good fun to take the family to a dude ranch. And so I did, and I was fucking proud of it. And we had the best time. It was unreal. And so we did fly fishing, rode horses, had a look at how the ranch operated, stayed there for a week, and it was incredible. And it cost about $40K for the week, which is, for me, fucking absurd. Like, outrageous. Plus the flights there and back. Did I for 1 second think about taking my family to a ranch in Australia? No. No way. And the reason why is I don't even think this stuff exists. But maybe it does, and I don't know about it. But there's a whole industry of taking people to dude ranches in America, and I know they've got a higher population. I know they travel a lot more internally than we do here. But just as a little person who lives in St Kilda, the whole middle bit of Australia is completely foreign, dangerous, weird, and completely unexposed, let alone cattle ranching within that part of the world. And so it's interesting. So when I got asked to speak, I was so excited. And I said, "Oh my God! I just took the family to this ranch in Montana, and that's what must be what you do." And that's I got it completely wrong. but it's still relevant, right? So also in St Kilda, there's a butcher called Meatsmith, where we would never get our meat from Coles or Woolies. So we pay about $70 a kilo for it. Wagyu costs about $400. Beef from Coles costs about $18. Go into a supermarket and go look at the ice cream, and go look at the price variance in ice cream. Even ice cream has a 10x difference. You're paying about $1 a kilo for the cheapest. You're paying about $10 a kilo for the most expensive. Any industry. Eggs is another good example, right? You can get the cheapest eggs you like for nothing. The most expensive costs, X, Y, and Z. So marketing, brands are a really good way to build value into your business. I know most of you, or I think most of you, would sell your beef to intermediaries or to, somebody would collect it all and then send it up to somewhere else, to Indonesia or to wherever it gets sold. But even still in a B2B model where the end consumer is still not paying for what you're doing, the more value you can put into what you do, the more you can brand it, then the more value you're going to be able to, the more premiums you're going to be able to get for it. So I just typed in Australia's best producers, and these are the two things that came up. I have no idea if these people in the room, I don't even know if they're in the Northern Territory. But when I Googled them, that's what came up. And so some of you are starting to do stuff for yourself. I don't know how much these guys are helping. So I had a look at the MLA stuff. Sorry? The lambs. If you make lamb, I think they'll be or raised lamb or whatever. You'd be very, very happy. But I'm not sure what's happening with beef. So, and also also while I'm talking, my industry, advertising, has been decimated by. You've heard of Google? Yep. So Google and Facebook, Meta, they've taken about 60% of our industry away from how we do things, and so that's massive. And now AI is going to take away about another 60%, I reckon. Our industry has been absolutely decimated. It's contracted by a massive amount. My business, since 2017, has grown from 0 people to over 200 people. So business is good, the industry is fucked. And I reckon that's really interesting, right? Because if you have a brand, a really strong brand, it can help protect against increased tariffs or whatever the big macro trend is going to be. Because the more people understand your brand, they'll value it. The more they value it, the more they'll pay for it. Strong brands over-index on every single business metric. And the other interesting thing about what creates a strong brand is it's changed from the physical things you make, from the actual cattle, to things like the intangible assets, like the brand, the reputation, trust, goodwill, all of that kind of stuff is where the value for business in general seems to be. And I think the same would apply for cattle ranching. It just might take a little bit of cognitive twisting to get us there. So that's what I said about our industry. It's been decimated. My brand's doing well. The stuff I heard from the speakers this morning, I was just thinking, whoa, this industry is under attack. There's lots of different things going on in this industry. But as I say, if I'm here to come and speak to you and I know nothing about your industry, I don't trust it, I was worried for Sophie's welfare, then you have to brand yourself more as individual entities and probably as a collective as well, and make your story heard much more. And I think that's what I'm going to try to talk about today. I know it is. This is my dad's coffin. Does anyone notice anything interesting about the coffin? It's so that's me at the front. That's my brother-in-law at the back. He looks more like me than I do, but it's interesting. So, but anyway, my dad was a pack-a-day Marlboro Red smoker. He wanted his coffin painted as a box of Marlboro Reds, which we did. I then had to give his eulogy. He said, say whatever you want, but let everyone know that he wanted to be cremated so he could light up one last time. And I said that, and I'm still repeating his joke years after. To me, I love this photo because it just shows a person going out on their own terms, living life the way they wanted. It's a big kind of fuck you, which I like. But it also obviously shows the power of branding. And so I want to talk a little bit about some strong brands. So if you think about BMW, bananas, we work with Horticulture Australia. So I'm going to show you a couple of examples of them. BMW, Taylor Swift, cornflakes, they're all really strong brands. Put your own brand in that list if you want, and you can start to think about what makes your brand strong. And you could do that for the Cattlemen's Association in general, or you could do it for your own particular station. What makes all of these brands strong? Anyone? Recognition. Sorry? Recognition. Great. Distinctive brand assets, did you say? Yeah, great. So, distinctive brand assets. Sorry? Loyalty. Loyalty happens after we've got this stuff right. I'll tell you the other two because it's all kind of a bit mishmash. They've all got a really clear brand promise, so you know what they stand for. You know exactly what the brand promise is, and they stick with that over and over and over again. Clear brand codes, so you know exactly, you recognise that brand, they stay consistent over time, and they're famous. And so you know them really, really, and they feel very familiar to you. If I showed you a pack of cornflakes and I showed you a different brand for breakfast, and I just showed you those while putting you in an MRI machine and scanned your brain as you're looking at the cornflakes versus bubbly bops or whatever, your brain does not light up much when it sees cornflakes. And that means you don't have to process much information, and that means you feel more familiar with it, that means you buy it. If I show you bibbly bops under an MRI machine, your brain lights up a lot, tries to process a lot of information, you go, fuck it, it's only breakfast, I'll take the cornflakes. And so that's how it works all the time. So the buyer buying your stuff, if they know exactly what you're about, then they'll buy it and feel more comfortable with it. So, clear brand promise. All brands have to communicate something. Your brand and how you present yourself will all of those brands on all those logos there will communicate something about the brands behind them, and they'll have an implicit meaning and an explicit meaning. The implicit meaning is just the general vibe you get from it. Like, have they made their logo look nice, or does it look ridiculous? Does it say professional, like we're looking after these things, or does it look like they couldn't give a shit? And it's also got an explicit kind of meaning. It says exactly what it does on the tin. So the peacekeepers, implicitly they mean peace because it communicates the Pacific Ocean. It's kind of that light blue colour. Explicitly, it's an army that's deployed to help protect and help people on the workforce, on the thing. My agency, Measured Magic, is my brand promise. Implicitly, it says some magic here is going to be applied. You're going to get some kind of weird creative solution. Explicitly, it's evidence-based creative solutions. So marketing science meets hardcore creativity. So just, if you can, spend, and then that runs through everything we do. So our logo is Rodance the Thinker with Tinkerbell's wings on it. Our colourways is complementary contradictions, so two different things, two different colours coming together. But then on our invoicing forms, for example, when we're invoicing a supplier, we ask them, you know, what's your ABN, blah, 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 blah. Do you believe in love is one of the questions. And the other question is, what's your favourite Disney character? And we're just asking that to fuck with the CFO's head a little bit, who's receiving the invoice, just going, oh, what, who are these people? Oh, wow, Tinkerbell, gosh, wonder what they do. And it's just a way of communicating. And I just want to say, so once you've got that clear brand promise, in our case, Measured Magic, then you can roll that out through everything you do. And spend about 15 to 20 minutes coming up with that. You don't need to spend much more. Just bounce it around and work out what your promise is and stick to it. And it doesn't have to be any harder than that. I'll give you two quick examples. So we work with Bega. They wanted to create a new honey. Honey is dominated by Capellino, and also the colour yellow. It's also generic. So all marketers come to me and all brands come to me and go, oh, we're just like everyone else. There's no difference between us. That's exactly right. You are. You're all exactly the same. And this is where marketing becomes invaluable. So, cars are exactly the same. They're all, the expensive car and the cheap car are built in the same factory. It's just marketed differently. So you just think of yourself as a commodity and then work out how you can brand yourself. So, honey's a commodity. They wanted a way to stand out. We know the bee population's under threat, but we also know that honey is a fundamental life and it tastes great. So we wanted to be the only honey brand that started with looking after the bees' welfare as opposed to the humans' welfare. And so we created a brand proposition that it all starts with a bee. So bee honey, it all starts with a bee, was our proposition. So everything we did, we were going to look after the bees' welfare over and above the welfare or the taste or anything else. It was all about the bees' welfare. The first thing we did was made the packaging purple because that's the colour that bees are most attracted to, and we thought that would be quite nice. We then created a thing called the Purple Hive Project, which is a bunch of hives which are interconnected, with the internet, but also had AI-enabled infrared cameras that could detect the varroa mite on a bee that entered the hive, and the varroa mite's on the back of the bee's neck. So when they identify the varroa mite, they can alert all the other stations, and everyone can kind of be aware of that. And so this is an ad. This is not an ad. It's a kind of a thing we did for them. It just takes a couple of minutes.
The varroa mite feeds on honeybees and can cause the collapse of entire colonies.
Australia really is a lucky country. We're the last inhabited continent to be free of the varroa destructor.
But a ferocious army of committed Australians are on the warpath to save the precious bee.
To launch Bega's bee honey, Bega created the Purple Hive Project, an AI early detection monitoring system that has been designed to protect honeybees and the Australian agriculture industry from the deadly varroa destructor. Built from the ground up, the 3D printed hive has integrated 360-degree cameras and an AI learning algorithm that can detect a healthy bee from a bee carrying varroa. AI computer vision scans each individual bee that enters the hive 24 hours a day. If a varroa mite is detected, an alert is sent instantly, allowing the hive to be quarantined. The hives can be placed at high-risk entry points all around Australia.
Now, scientists are turning to a new technology to save them.
From their work at NASA and a quest to find signs of life on the red planet, the pair has progressed to the Purple Hive Project, aimed at safeguarding life on their own planet.
The Purple Hive Project launched with ABC Landline, Australia's foremost voice on agricultural issues, dedicating an...
Okay, I'm just going to stop it there. That happened. Because we did that, Woolworths and Coles both said, cool, that's category leadership, see what you're doing there. Because it's purple, it's kind of consumers are able to see it and buy it. Didn't do any advertising, spent about $250,000 on that project, got really good market share, did a few other things that helped prove that we were caring for bees along the way, but had a really clear purpose that helped us express that brand, and therefore we were able to kind of keep on rolling along. I'll give you one more example, and this is bananas, and this is a bit silly. I feel really nervous giving this example to Cattlemen to talk about bananas because it kind of it's a bit silly. But Hort is one of our clients, and they wanted to work out how we could sell more bananas, especially on International Banana Day. The proposition and the distinctive brand assets, which I'll talk about in a second, bananas are really, really clear. It's about sustained energy. I thought, if we're all about sustained energy, how can we make this come to life for people and sell more bananas? And this is what we did with bananas.
Hi, I'm a banana. And for decades, Australian bananas, just like me, have given Aussies a natural source of sustained energy. However, over the past few years, more and more people have been getting hooked on energy snacks, with the category rising a whopping 46%. Something needed to be done. So, in true banana spirit, a bunch of us in the marketing team tackled the challenge head on. We needed to remind Australians that bananas are the healthiest source of long-lasting energy. So we did our research and found that people have been turning us into all types of things, like art, movies, games, and really expensive wall hangings. This gave us a big idea. we decided to become something entirely new, something that screamed energy. We became a gym pass.
If you were reluctant to book a class at the gym today, tomorrow might be more appealing.
Hundreds of gyms across the nation will today allow Australians to get a free workout on one condition: they show a banana to staff upon entry.
That's right. If you grab one of these and head into your gym, then they're going to let you in for free.
But we couldn't do this alone. We're just a bunch of bananas after all. So we did a world first and united all the largest gym networks. They loved the idea so much that they gave us access to all of their locations, meaning every Australian could use our gym pass. They even let us use their extensive media inventory so we could invite current gym goers to spread the word to their friends. The partnership was a success. People loved it, posting about it all over social media. Our gym pass went bananas, generating 177 pieces of earned media, seen by 22.5 million Aussies, and a total campaign reach of over 32.5 million. Nearby supermarkets even saw a 9.7% increase in sales. Now, I don't do math, but that's a lot of bananas. But most importantly, we've got Australians moving, with gym networks reporting a 27% increase in attendance. Well, that's enough from me. See you at the fruit bowl. You know, because I'm a banana.
Cool. So, again, I hope that's real. I hope you see that as relevant. It's kind of trying to find an idea that your brand stands for, then roll it out over and over and over again as much as possible, using every single touch point you have within your organisation to try to make people familiar with it. Get a clear brand promise is point one. Point two, clear brand codes. I received this today when I got here, and I thought, gosh, that's cool. They understand their brand. Then I saw Emily, and she was wearing a Stockman's hat. Is that what it's called? Yes? Yep. And I thought, cool, that's great. Because it's, and then the president spoke earlier. He was wearing his hat. You guys wearing your hats. And it's just fantastic that you kind of understand the codes of what your industry is about, and you kind of keep on wearing them. It helps people communicate who they're dealing with, because you understand and recognise that brand. Oh shit, I get what Stockman are about because I understand what that hat's about, and I don't want to mess with the people who wear that kind of hat. It's kind of basically what it's saying. And then if I just go back to my family trip to Montana, in Montana, everyone's got the memo. So everyone understands that we mean, I'm going to say horses. We mean horses in Montana. Like it's all, every shop has the same, sells the same stuff. They've all got the hats, they've all got kind of riding, they've all got, every single shop, every outlet, every business, they've all got the memo. When you go to Darwin, I don't quite get Cattlemen's Association, but there's a lot of street art, there's a lot of interesting things here, but I'm just wondering what devices you could give to the entire industry to make sure everybody kind of gets the memo that you're all in on the one kind of thing. The hat is very, very cool. I don't know if you guys do the belt buckle or the boots. I don't know how far you guys go with all of that stuff, but it's important. And in Montana, for example, it's everywhere. And it's cool. And the reason why it's cool is because this is a human brain and it uses a lot of energy. This accounts for about 20% of our energy usage. It accounts for about 2% of our body weight. Because it accounts for about 20% of our energy usage, we don't like to use it very often. We try to conserve how much energy we use, and when we buy things or when we're doing stuff or whatever, we habitualise as much as we can. The brain thinks in two types of different ways, System 1 and System 2. And this is all stolen from a guy called Daniel Kahneman, who won the Nobel Prize for Economics in 2002, but he was a psychologist. So it's when psychology fused with economics, and this is what they've discovered. System 1, System 2, process this and you'll change your life. System 1 processes 11 billion bits of information a second. It's fast, it's intuitive, and it's super quick. If I go like this, what emotion is that? I'll do it again because I enjoy doing it. It's meant to be fear, but surprise. Anyway, you get the point. So that's system one. You're processing that immediately. If I said to you, what's 13 times 14? Just yell it out quickly. Sorry? 13 times 14. So most of you, I would imagine, have just switched off. Thought, fuck it, I can't be bothered. This is only vaguely entertaining at best. I have no interest in trying to work that out. The reason why is because that's turning on system 2, which processes about 40 bits of information a second, where you actually stop and engage your brain and you try to work something out. It uses a lot of energy, and you don't want to use that energy if it's not worth it. It's also the reason why you tend to tune out when speakers get boring. It's just not worth listening to them, and so you kind of conserve that energy. It's the reason why you can habitualise how you drive, because you don't have to use energy to think of every single thing and process everything. And so 13 times 14, you're not going to bother to think about. There'll be one alpha male in the room desperately trying to work it out. He'll yell something out, but most of us... Sorry? Well done. So it's slow, effortful, sequential, logical, rational. We get by on system 1. We think like water. We take the path of least resistance. We don't like to think about things. We don't like to think about what one station owner's cattle has versus another. We don't like to think about what type of one cereal had the benefits of that over another. We don't even like to think about what the benefits of one type of Utah are over another. We just kind of don't want to have to think about the things we don't need to think about. We look for what's called cognitive fluency, and if something's easy to process, then we believe it. So easy equals true. So even that sign, even this chart up there, it's easy to process that information, so you don't deny. Okay, cool, easy equals true. So if you have a great orator, somebody who's really, really good at speaking, and they say, I have a dream, they'll repeat that sentence 26 times, and then you'll remember it, and you'll believe it. If you ever get in trouble with in a court of law, I don't know if you have, but if you had a barrister working for you, they'll use alliteration, they'll use rhyme. And so this is the famous moment Johnny Cochran said when trying on the gloves, when OJ tried on the gloves, he said, if the gloves don't fit, you must acquit. And because it rhymed, it's easy to process that information, and because we don't have to think about it, we kind of go along with it and believe it. And that's kind of the crucial turning point of that trial. The gloves didn't fit because he didn't even bother trying. So that's why big brands spend a lot of time getting their distinctive brand assets or their brand codes right. So they get the arches, I'm loving it, the colorways, and then when they have other things to sell, they have a Big Mac, they have French fries, they have a McCafe, they have a Happy Meal, they have a fillet of fish. Everything in that universe in McDonald's is branded, and they're incredibly consistent with it. And I just ask you yourselves, and in my agency as well, so I practice what I preach, we have Measured Magic. We employ thinkers and tinkers. We start each week with Measured Monday. We end each week with Magic Hour. The whole thing is a branded universe, and therefore our clients know what to expect, and therefore they think we're good, and therefore they pay us and they stick with us. I also take this at a personal level. So this is me Googling myself, which is a very sad thing, a very sad, pathetic habit to get into. But if you do find yourself Googling yourself, have a look at how consistent you show up in every single image. It's always unkempt appearance, wearing black, shaggy hair. I'm not a very good public speaker, but people know what they get. So very, very consistent. So what I'd say, and then get something like Red Bull, they create an entire brand universe. And every single time everyone here thinks of something like Red Bull, you know exactly what you're going to get, and the whole thing kind of comes to life. So if you can think about your organisation or your ranch where you belong, there's only two things you really need to do at this stage. Number one, get that defining idea that your ranch is all about. And then number two, build distinctive brand assets that bring that idea to life. So if you're the most caring ranch in the world, then have a whole lot of distinctive assets around care. If you've got the best tasting beef in Australia or in the world, then we've got a whole lot of stuff around taste. Whatever story you want to tell, you're in control of the story you can tell about your own ranch. You tell it, and then you make it come to life right through the system, and you stick to it. And then for bonus points, you can do something like this. And this is a kind of a cool thing we did with 4X. So 4X is a beer, and is it big in Northern Territory? It must be, right? Yeah. And so this is a Queensland-specific case study, but I think you'll get it anyway. But it's using their distinctive brand assets in an interesting kind of way.
Cristiano Ronaldo didn't want to promote the sponsor Coca-Cola.
It's part of a growing trend of sporting stars rejecting their sponsors.
Mbappe has been hiding Budweiser's name.
Israel outside it, he drew a cross right on the logo, and then he flipped it off.
Sports sponsorships. Players really couldn't give a about them. In Australia's equivalent of the Super Bowl, the State of Origin, the regular rugby season stops and players play for their home state, which turns out to be something they care about deeply. Especially Queensland, the state sponsored by 4X Beer. So we swapped out the 4X's of their sponsorship logo for the 4 numbers of each player's hometown postcode, which in Queensland all start with the 4. Introducing Postcodes of Origin.
Queensland is making some big changes to its Origin jersey.
They'll be wearing a new look jersey. And we saw this addition to the Maroons jersey. What are those numbers?
The Maroons will ditch the 4X logo.
Swapping out its sponsors logo for 4 numbers.
Our postcode, 467.
These been replaced by individual postcodes.
How much they're supporting the local community.
Sponsor these Aussie players actually care about.
Paying tribute to the hometowns of every Queensland player.
Full initiative there by 4X.
But also we released 30 million special edition cans of 4X beer. That's 30 million opportunities for beer drinkers to now share their postcodes. So it wasn't just 14 players who could share their pride. It was all of Queensland. Turns out by giving beer drinkers something to care about, they were able to create more impact than any sponsorship could, helping us reach nearly 3/4 of the Australian population, gain a 6% lift in sales, and reclaim our position as the #1 beer brand in Queensland. Now that's something to give a about. Postcodes of Origin.
Cool. So, clear brand promise, clear brand codes, and now make your station or the cattle industry be as famous as possible. I hate to say it, but all publicity is indeed good publicity. So that's the Qantas share price. You'll see a little bit of a dip there when Alan Joyce was really going nuts. But they got rid of him and straight back up. That Samsung, in 15th of January 2016 was when their phones started exploding on aeroplanes, and so it got reported massively, and that's what happened to the share prices. People's phones were exploding on aeroplanes. So it's all publicity, probably all publicity is good publicity. I'm sure you could push that, but it's all going to result in fame for your organisation, for your industry, and that's all going to be because we feel comfortable with things that are familiar to us, it's going to be good value for your brand. So the more famous the brand is, the more it basically over-indexes on every single business unit. So that's price sensitivity, awareness, value creation, margin. It's all about fame. Get it as famous as possible. There's a chap called Professor Byron Sharp who works at a place called the Ehrenberg Bass Institute in South Australia. He's the world's most famous marketing professor. He's a prickly character, but he says that no marketing activity, including innovation, should be seen as an end in itself. It's all about getting mental availability. It's all about getting stuck in the consumer's head. The more you get stuck in the consumer's head or your buyer's head or the person who's amalgamating all of your products, the more value there is, the more they'll like it, the more they'll pay for it. So fame is now relying much less on bought media. So the biggest and best brands in the world, and lots of them now are B2B type brands as well, where there's not necessarily an end consumer, but there's one business talking to another business. They're all kind of doing interesting different ways to build value into their brand. What stories do you have? So you can have product stories. So Wagyu is the interesting one. Process stories. So I remember as a kid, I used to hear about Wagyu beef where they used to massage the cows. I have no idea if that's true or not, but I typed it in cow massager and I saw that picture. I don't know if you massage your cows, but you don't, do you? You don't. As I say that, I'm sure, no. Anyway, whatever. I'm sure there are process things you do that you just go, oh yeah, and you just ignore, but you can just put a magnifying glass on that, put a bit of marketing top spin on it, and you've got a beautiful story to tell. There's place stories. When I grew up in Western Australia, Equestro at the time was a working ranch, but also somewhere where you could stay. I think it's now just purely about hospitality and so forth, I think. But there's so many beautiful places in here. I was going to go to one of the ranches. I'm up here with my family, and we were going to go to a ranch tomorrow, but it's just a bit too far. But I looked it up online, and I just couldn't believe how many beautiful parts there were on the ranch. Or there's obviously people stories, of which there are abundant ones. And I just wonder how many of those different things you can take and start to create fame out of those stories about your ranch that you're not doing or that you walk past every day. And remember, it's coming back to the earlier point I made, it's all completely, there's nothing there. Like we can't see anything at the moment. So anything you do to make it more transparent, to get some of the stories out there of what you do, will be valuable to the whole of Australia, to all your various constituent stakeholders, because it'll be more transparent, they'll see it more, they'll value it more, they'll understand it more. And you can create stories out of anything. So one of the brands which I really enjoy working with is Vegemite. In 2017, Mondelez, Bega bought Vegemite back from Mondelez, and it came back into Australian ownership for the first time in donkey's years, and then they changed their agency to have an Australian agency for the first time in 74 years. And so we developed that line, Tastes Like Australia. So everything that Vegemite does, Vegemite has the taste of Australia. Weird and wonderful and a bit weird, and that's the line we came up with. We launched it with these kind of things. So it tastes like punching a shark in the face during a surf comp, which obviously Mick Fanning did as a surfer. And there's a whole lot of other things. We actually had Pauline Hanson in one of the ads as well, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so that's what we did. But then we realised that there's only a couple of $1 million in advertising that we're spending, so we thought, let's not spend any money in advertising. Let's just put it all into shared media and start to just see if we can use this Taste Like Australia thought and just start to try to get it out into popular culture as much as possible. During the Ashes series in 2017, I saw this, I get Google alerts on my clients. I saw a Google alert saying that they're giving away free Marmite, handing out at the Ashes. And I wrote back to my client saying, it's our national duty to respond. Here are some possible responses. A full page ad in the Mirror in the UK saying blah, blah, blah. I sent that. The next day, we had this ad in the paper, and I'll just read it out really quickly. G'day, news has reached down under that free jars of Marmite are being handed out at the Ashes to try to prove it tastes better than our Vegemite. Are you guys balmy? Of course, a refined English palate will prefer yours. You see, Vegemite is a far stronger taste made of resilience and fortitude with a dash of cunning and guile. Vegemite tastes like a back-to-back tons on your return test. Vegemite tastes like a come-from-behind victory by 251 runs. You lot won't like the taste of Vegemite because Vegemite tastes like Australia. Catch you at Lord's. It's cool. The thing I like most about this case study is then the reply from Marmite. So in the next week at Marmite in the UK, they took this full page ad out. Dear Vegemite, we might not taste like Australia, but love it or hate it, we won't be tampering with it. See you at the home of cricket. We then replied with this. G'day Lords, don your Vegemite colours today if you secretly prefer your toast taste like Australia. That's the colour of the members wear at Lords, so that they're Vegemite colours. But then they replied by just handing out sandpaper and stuck with the same game. And then we actually ended up replying by burning some toast with Marmite on it, putting it in a little urn, sending it to them. That little urn the Mighty Ashes battle is still in the long room at Lord's, which is very bizarre. So, we had 6 weeks of ridiculousness of this yeast-based war between Vegemite and Marmite that went on for ages. But it's all because we understood the brand really well. We understood Tastes Like Australia, and we liberated ourselves to try to get as much fame and attention for the brand as possible. That was the first thing that Vegemite did. But ever since then, now they advertise now to be the next marketing manager of Vegemite. They're advertising for the most important job in Australia, to be the next Australian ambassador, not to be the marketing manager of Vegemite. When they do little things like these stencils to try to increase consumption, so you can kind of, colour in with Vegemite these things, but in order to do that, you have to put a shit ton of Vegemite on your toast. Then we launched. Then we kind of raised awareness of Vegemite about the cross-contamination issues of Vegemite and butter. So we launched a thing called the Veggie Knife, which is a double-sided knife for butter and Vegemite. And that went really nuts. Like, people really wanted one of those. You can go on to eBay, pay about $400 each to buy one of these ridiculous knives. But this knife was obviously just a gimmick that we then had launched Vegemite Squeezy with, which was a way to squeeze the Vegemite onto the toast to avoid cross-contamination. Interestingly, when you squeeze Vegemite onto toast, again, you can't put it back in there, so it aids with consumption a lot. We then put serving suggestions on jars of Vegemite, so pizza and nachos and bolognese and pho and stuff. And then what happened here was, whenever we did this, all of these jars just stayed on the shelves and nobody bought them because they thought it was like pizza-flavoured Vegemite or nacho-flavoured Vegemite. So it's a really good example of us getting up our own arse and being way too clever because it failed massively. But, overall it's a good story. That's before the Queen died. We asked for a letter from her to... when we turned 100, we wanted to be the first brand in the world to receive a letter from the Queen. Taylor Swift coming to town. And then doing lots and lots of different things where we kind of just do joint ventures with other brands to try to get them and leverage some of their equity. And again, if you think about being a cattle station in the Northern Territory, wearing this hat, forgive me for saying this, but you guys are like the big swinging dicks in Australia, right? That's a massively strong thing to be associated with. And so again, when I want to take my family on a dude ranch and get them off screens and get them to experience what it's like riding a horse and fly fishing, I've never done that stuff in my life, but I thought the family would love that. And so you have so much to offer contemporary society at the moment by partnering with or best being out there more. But again, it's all completely behind a veil at the moment. So that's what they did. So what I implore you to do is have a clear brand promise, have clear brand codes, and get yourself out there and be as famous as possible. Use your distinctive assets, use the hat, clearly communicate as much as possible, and don't be afraid of stuffing it up occasionally, because even if you do stuff it up, your share price or your value will increase anyway because people will be more aware of what you do. So that's really what I want to share. I hope some of that was useful. Thank you. Sure. Any questions at all? I can stand here awkwardly for a little bit, or...
Anybody? I've got one. Oh, yep, one over here. We'll get a... Very quickly, somebody will race this microphone to you.
Great question. I resisted. I put it in there anyway. It's for the banana. So Hort does pay us to promote bananas, not a specific type of banana, so not a Cavendish or whatever. So that was for the banana industry as a whole. We're doing the same thing for mushrooms at the moment. So it's for Australian-based mushrooms, where we're developing different ways to get those mushrooms to market. So now the brown paper bags, we've got spices in the bags, so you can get your mushrooms, put it in the bag, shake the bag, you've got spices in there, and then you can serve it that way. But it is at a kind of a category level, so it's a little bit different. So, yeah. So thanks for the question. Any others? Any other? Yes, it's yellowed
Right
out.
up the top.
That's a very big question. The biggest selling, if you go have a look at vacation skincare in the US, and have a look at what they do. They've got skincare sunscreen, and it's whipped sunscreen. So you put it on like whipped cream, and then you rub it on. And it's got all this kind of 1970s Miami, highly sexualized kind of vibe to it, the whole brand. And it's created by a guy who used to work for me a few years ago. The whole thing is done purely on product innovation and social media, but all completely organic social. And it's now stocked in every Nordstrom, every Target. It's the #1 selling sunblock in the US and gone crazy. That's one way to do it. Tesla does it by PR. Liquid Death does it by social, and then so on. Unilever does it by doing paid advertising. There's not one way to do it. What I'd say to you is understand what your business is about, what feels natural to you, are you a stunts-based thing, or you just tell a line and link story, and just do what's right for you and stick with it. And that would be the best thing I could do.
How important is it to have with the example of your work with Bega, how important is it to have a CEO like Barry Irwin who actually gets this stuff?
It's vital. If you don't have a CEO...
Because if he got no sense of humour, that would have been it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Barry's great. It's everything. If your CEO doesn't get it, you're fucked. And that's why it's so good talking to this room. And it's really interesting. Like, marketers used to have this real issue trying to get the CEO and the boards to understand what they were talking about. So half of them went and did these finance courses that made them really bad accountants. And half of them stuck to their guns and really tried to understand brand and creativity and emotional connection and all this stuff. The ones who are doing that, they're the ones who are now getting sucked up the food chain and becoming CEOs and board members. So my clients at Sportsbet, at Jetstar, Unilever, they're all marketers becoming the CEOs, because CEOs and boards are now getting, oh shit, there's margin in brand creation. But if I don't get it, yeah, go somewhere else.
Which is a Qantas story. Question down here, just halfway up the... No, just wait for a sec, we're going to get a mic to you.
Thanks. Just wondering, have you had an experience with selling an unpalatable product or an issue? And how would you handle it?
The question should be, have I had any experience selling a palatable product?
Unpalatable.
No, but it should be palatable. We flog Mars bar. Like, it's all up for abuse. We can't... It's all... Bananas is probably... Not many people have issues with bananas. But beer, sports betting... It's all, beef is not nearly as unpalatable as most of the clients I work with. Sorry? Yeah, the Defence Force, ACES, like loads of them, right? I think what the issue is, I think this industry gets a lot of flack because it's completely unknown. And I hope I didn't offend anybody when I spoke about Sophie and worried about our welfare. That wasn't meant to be a values judgment. It was meant to be about I don't know where she's going. I don't know what's happening kind of thing. So I think there's very easy runs to be made here by making the industry better known, and the processes better known, the stories better known. But yeah, lots of experiences working with unpalatable industries, but transparency of process and getting stories known and getting the thing out there kind of tends to be the macro narrative. It tends to build trust and familiarity. But yeah, great question.
Yeah. To be honest, Wolf Creek didn't do anything for outback tourism.
Yeah, it did.
You know.
Wolf Creek did. It was, you know, at least it's got people talking.
I'm just interested to know that I saw in a lot of your work that just the element of humour and how important is humour. It seems important, and at work, how well does it work?
Yeah, I think humour works very well, and it works because we don't give a shit about most advertising. So it just helps people pay attention, and then the brand kind of sleeps in the back end through humour is the way that mostly works. It works a lot. It's getting harder and harder to use humour because you're going to upset so many different constituents at the moment. So the use of humour in marketing in general at the moment is a very, very hot topic. If I think again about Montana and I think about what they do, there's not a lot of humour in how they market themselves. If I think about being a cattleman and a station owner, I don't get a lot of natural humour cues there. So it's really, really important, really macro, really important. I don't see it necessarily being important for what I'm talking about with you guys today.
Maybe time for one or two more quick ones. The lady just up in the third row, fourth row. And
Anne Staines. Going on from what you were discussing a while ago and the issues that you heard this morning, rather than actually to get our beef out there, we need to get city people to understand our industry. And to me, that's the biggest takeout message that I've got, that we could actually do something here where, because this is what we're always talking about, we don't know how to break down those the barriers, and this seems like a way that we could do it, and, you know, quickly.
Yeah,
we can take action now.
Yeah, that's great. And it's just why I put the family thing of us going on a dude ranch there as well. Just like, you just need to make people feel like they're part of it. Just open it up a little bit. And you're not trying to be closed. It's just that you're not telling the stories you've got to tell. So thank you.
one more question halfway up. Oh, you want?
Just to build on that one, but like a lot of the time it's say get yourself out there, but people don't like to talk about it because they don't want to be up their own butt, if you like. So that they want to be part of the conversation. And as far as to build on what Anne said, like everyone is part of agriculture because they eat. So they're in. You've got to opt out of agriculture if you want to opt out. And I think Will said that earlier today, that like the world is agriculture and we're part of that and they're part of us. There's no divide unless we create one, sort of thing. So I don't know. You know, what you did today, I think, was fantastic, and there's going to build on things. So you don't want to put yourself out there because you don't want to be unauthentic, if you like. You want to stay true to your roots.
Yeah, sorry, I really was meant to touch on that. So thank you. So I think Bill Gates is now the largest landowner in America. So he's buying up cattle stations and big kind of agricultural plots of land, and I think people are starting to really value. There's a macro trend heading towards you. There's lots of macro trends heading towards you that all you need to do is open the doors and let people in because they're really interested in what you do. There's no business model in flying under the radar. Nothing I said up there was just be quiet and look after your cattle. You know, that's not... Nothing I said there is that a good thing to do. But I think it's a really interesting cultural point about you've got to find your own voice in a way that's authentic to you, and you've got to find a way to tell that story. And even again, the president who wore the hat before, who was saying, you know, I'm nervous about being up here. He was up here telling the story, and I think that was a good analogy maybe for where the industry's at. Because either that, or in my head, if you don't find a way to authentically tell those stories, just from how I see it, you're screwed. So. You don't have a choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's only been here 3 days and picked up the vibe. Imagine if you invited him and the family here for 3 weeks. I mean, he'd be all over it.
You wouldn't want that.
Yeah.
Good on you.
Good on you.
Thank
Put
you.
your hands together for Adam Ferrier, everybody.
Thank you.